Today I'm going to be talking about how injuries affect athletes, not just physically, but mentally as well, and why athletes' mental health is often so overlooked. The main problem that we have right now is that we focus so much on athletes' physical well-being that we tend to ignore the mental aspect of sports. Sure, athletes need to recover physically, oftentimes, but what we don't think about is how these injuries and small back steps they have can affect them mentally, as we can see in this image. Okay, if we sit here and think about athletes, we're gonna realize that athletes live for their sports. They wake up early, go to bed late, doing everything they can to get better and have an advantage on the competition. As we can see in this image, the athlete is going on an early run because athletes live for their sports. What we don't realize is truly how common injuries are in all sports, especially contact sports. As we can see in this image, UFC, an athlete is kicking, breaks his leg. This athlete is going to deal with a lot of mental health issues because he's going to be out for a while. But his opponent is also going to deal with a lot of mental health issues because of what he had to witness. And that's what we don't sit here and realize. We don't realize how common these issues are. We don't realize how when an athlete gets injured, they're going to be out for a while. They're going to be on the sideline, not feeling like themselves, falling into negative thoughts. And this is all just going to backtrack their progression and slow down their recovery time. One thing I can say is that athletes get a lot of help physically when they get injured. We're going to have trainers on the spot for them, ready to help them, feel supported, take care of them. But what we don't have oftentimes is a mental health help. We don't have therapists. We don't have someone they can talk to about what they're feeling. And that's something that should get bettered because athletes' mental health affects and benefits an athlete's performance so much. If we think about it, injuries aren't the only thing that can cause athletes to suffer with mental health issues. Athletes can feel pressure from fans, causing them to feel like they're not performing right. This pressure can cause them to just be extremely stressed out, and they fall into dark places because instead of being supported, they're getting lashed on. This image is something that is very important. The staff of teams should always be there. In this case, we can see an athlete hurt his neck, so the trainers are making sure he's supported. They're taking proper care of him so he recovered. But we can't manage to see is if this athlete is getting talked to in the back afterwards. They're making sure his mental health is okay. He's mentally there fully. Another thing we don't realize is that when athletes rush injuries or they don't heal properly, they're going to play with uncomfort. As in this image, an athlete recovered but is now playing with the brace because she feels like she's not herself anymore. She has an ankle brace and a knee brace. This can be a huge limiting factor to performance. And when athletes don't perform like they used to before injuries, they tend to just fall into depression, fall into mental health issues because they don't feel like themselves anymore. And all that can be due to athletes rushing the recovery process or forcing their body to exert activities to an extent that they shouldn't. Sometimes athletes overlook very small issues they have because they want to perform. They want to be on the field. One more game. It's not going to get worse. It's things athletes are going to say. But all these things are going to help athletes regress a lot. And this injury is going to worsen and worsen to a point where they're going to be out for a while. So if we sit here and think about the issue on a bigger note, obviously telling athletes that these injuries, missing a game, is way better than missing a season. So if they feel minor uncomfort to rest, and athletes are hard-headed, so they're not gonna want to. But if we sit here and think about some of the things that we can better so the athletes feel supported, we should have some staffing always on deck to make sure these athletes are supported, as we see in this image. an athlete is feeling some sort of uncomfort, some sort of injury. So 3 coaches are on the scene helping, talking, making sure he's okay. Because in this image, it's the complete opposite. An athlete might be recovering from an injury, might be barely coming back into the mobility aspect of a sport and have no one to support them. So they feel like they don't belong, like the sport isn't for them because they don't have someone pushing them. And they have no motivation to push harder to recover. And these issues aren't just something we see in sports. There are many work areas, workplaces that have very demanding jobs that end up leaving workers, employees dealing with mental health issues, as is the military. A lot of veterans end up with PTSD. They end up falling homeless, alcoholism, drug abuse because they don't get the help they need mentally or physically sometimes. And it's just something that is so sad because people give so much and don't receive anything back. Another thing we can get better at and stop doing, so this is kind of a 2-for-1, is stop pushing athletes to perform so often. If it means missing a game, okay, they're going to miss the game. In this case, this athlete got pushed way too fast to perform again, and his injury worsened. And that's something that just isn't okay anymore. We have to get better at this. Another thing that'll help these athletes mentally is their teammates. Feeling supported, feeling like they have someone pushing them a little so that they recover faster, so that they know they're waiting for them when they get back from the injury. Little things like this are going to better this and help it get a lot minimal in the long run. The biggest takeaway from this is we need to talk with athletes as this image. We have to ask them, how does your leg feel? Are you okay? Do you think you can run now? Let's not rush this. Things like that are going to help this problem become a lot smaller, and eventually it'll disappear, or not disappear fully, but it'll be so small that it's just something of the past. This is an awesome bonus image. This athlete had cancer, was out of season, dealt with a lot of mental health issues because he lost weight. Next season, he had beat cancer, came back, had the best season of his life. He signed a contract for $90 million, and all his cleats now say this message. It's just awesome to see how when they have support, they're going to do great. This image just shows that athletes' mental health is important. Because they're athletes doesn't mean their mental health should be ignored. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that after this presentation, you guys can try implementing this a little bit if you see something going on. And eventually this problem will be